your mind is the best quarterback on the NFC side as we head into the playoffs?
I'm going to go with Dak Prescott. And he's been the best quarterback in the NFC the entire year, in my opinion. And that's a reason why he was in the MVP talks. When you look at his numbers, first in touchdown passes with 32, third in pass yards, second in QBR, second in QB rating, sixth in completion percentage, and he only has 8 interceptions, single-digit interceptions. So he's taking care of the football. A lot of people thought that was going to be an issue coming into this season. Y'all over there laughing.
Yeah, Harry, that is interesting how the interception narrative just poof, disappeared into thin air when that was one of the main topics of discussion all throughout last season and definitely during the offseason. Not only has the interception narrative disappeared since Dak Prescott is no longer leading that particular category, but now, can you actually remember the interception leader, how many yards they've given up, even though that they're leading the league in interceptions? No, you can't, because that was another fabricated storyline built to tear down yet another Dallas Cowboy. You know what's messed up about all these storylines and fabrications is it doesn't just affect us from a perspective standpoint. Some of these people are actually voting on important awards that will affect these players in their post-career or even during their career. Pro Bowls, All Pros, MVPs. All this stuff gets voted on by certain media members, and when you can see this type of stuff being peddled throughout the media, it just really makes you shake your head at the legitimacy of these awards because it comes down to just being a popularity contest. A lot of these people hate the Cowboys. A lot of these people love the Cowboys. But at this point in time and day, I think there's more Cowboys haters than there are lovers, and it shows through the media and the representation of.
Yeah, 5 homecoming games this season.
Listen, you play who you play.
Right.
And he bust Matt Stafford in them ass early in the season, too. In case y'all forgot. It don't matter. You just say they play who they play, right? You can't say they play who they play, but then he throw for 300 against the Los Angeles Rams, and then you try to back.
Early in the season.
I swear, man, it seems like ESPN nowadays seems more like the land of misfit toys where old NFL players that had failed careers go to spout nonsense on national television than an actual proper television program that is built to actually inform the audience about the sports in which they cover. Bart Scott comes back with yet another freezing cold take as he claims Matthew Stafford has been the guy that's been the best quarterback in the NFC all year long. When, guys, if you've been watching the NFL at all in 2023, you know that simply isn't true. Luckily, Harry Douglas was on the set today to make sure that Bart Scott got set straight as he continued to try to spout some nonsense. But Harry Douglas came back at him and let him know, hey man, the Cowboys whooped the Rams' ass just earlier this season. But I guess since the game happened earlier in the season, Bart Scott feels like the game just doesn't matter at all anymore. Forget the fact that the Cowboys have been consistently the better team all year long. Forget the fact that Dak Prescott has been playing like a top 3 quarterback in the NFL all year long. Forget all of that. We're just going to go ahead and give Matthew Stafford the nod because he's had a hot 5 or 6 weeks playing subpar opponents in half of those games, and he put up a nice fight against the Baltimore Ravens, which the Baltimore Ravens are a good team, but come on now, losing to that team makes you better than teams that have been performing all year long? Stop it. And as far as the argument pertaining to Dak Prescott and Matthew Stafford, for this season, there literally is no contest. Dak has a better record, he has a higher completion percentage, more passing yards per attempt, more passing yards per game, more passing touchdowns, less turnovers, a higher quarterback rate, more rushing attempts and rushing yards, more rushing touchdowns, and he's accounted for more fantasy points this year as well, if that matters. On top of that, Dak Prescott has actually been doing that behind a line that's giving up more sacks than the line that Matthew Stafford has been playing behind. Dak Prescott is getting sacked at a 6.58% rate, whereas Matthew Stafford is getting sacked at a 5.44% rate. So don't give me that crap about the Rams have a worse offensive line. Technically speaking and statistically speaking, Matthew Stafford is getting better protection, but Dak Prescott is putting up better numbers. On top of that, Dak Prescott's receivers have dropped the ball more times than Matthew Stafford's receivers, and Dak Prescott is throwing the ball more accurately than Matthew Stafford this year with an 82% on target percentage, whereas Matthew Stafford only has a 75% on target percentage. Dak Prescott is suffering an 18% pressure percentage, whereas Matthew Stafford is suffering a 17.7% pressure percentage, and Dak has been pressured 12 more times this season. So literally, by every single metric, Bart Snot, Dak Prescott has been playing better than Matthew Stafford, which again just goes to prove that you, sir, along with Dan Orlovsky, are literally one of the worst analysts on ESPN. To be honest, it amazes me how you've avoided all of the cuts that ESPN has done over the years, because time after time you come on a platform, you have this outrageous take that sometimes even your own co-hosts don't agree with, as we saw here with Harry Douglas. This isn't the first time you've been checked. Even Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp have had to check you about your Cowboys takes because you are absolutely tasteless and laughed after Trayvon Diggs got his injury to end the season. But even with all that, somehow you still remain on the ESPN roster, just further proving that ESPN doesn't care about having knowledgeable analysts on their platform. They want morons like this that's going to spout nonsense and get people talking. To be quite honest though, I feel like some of the more reputable or serious analysts that are on ESPN are starting to take notice to this trend, and more importantly, starting to take notice to how the public is reacting to this type of television. You see guys like Harry Douglas, Jeff Saturday, and others on ESPN and even FS1 now starting to take more of a fervent stance against the hate against Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, because even they see that it's unfair, it's undeserved, it's unwarranted hate. If you're going to lean so heavy when you're criticizing the team when they lose or have a shortfall, then make sure that the praise is just as loud. Even though I'm pretty sure that last bit I just said fell on deaf ears, because we already know ESPN has no desire to give the Cowboys objective coverage. They just want to rage bait and create the most fantastical storylines to get people tuned in. But to be quite honest, I think a lot of the viewership is starting to find that stuff old, and more people are actually enjoying when people like Bart Snot get told off on television and exposed for just how ignorant and moronic he actually is. Bart Scott does not deserve a position on national television. Bart Scott shouldn't be talking to anyone about football. Even though he was a professional player, I think he has more pressing matters to get to, like going to a doctor's office and getting his CTE checked. Either way, man, I'm not about to spend too much time on this idiotic take, because obviously the numbers and the tape show Dak Prescott has 100% been the best quarterback in the NFC all year long, and he's being asked to do the most on his team, regardless of what smooth brains like Bart Scott have to say. Either way, y'all know I was in these videos. How about them Cowboys? I'll see you on the next one.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.